Hello, I'm Trey Ratcliff. Welcome to beautiful Vienna, Austria. It's my first time here. I couldn't be more excited. I was walking around trying to come up with a theme for the upcoming photo walk, and I noticed there is beautiful symmetry here. So I think that's what it will be about. So my tips and tricks will be a little counterintuitive, maybe something you haven't thought about. So join me. Let's see what happens. So for tip number one is to take these rules that you've heard of, like these ideas of symmetry or the rule of thirds, and think about their origin. Don't just take them for granted. You know, like this idea of the rule of thirds and symmetry, these are actually in conflict with one another. How can both of these rules be true? Analyze the aesthetic tenets of it. Does it make any sense? And come to this realization yourself. Makes you wonder, why do we like symmetrical photos? What is it about humans and symmetry? And it turns out there's a genetic reason that we like symmetry. It's because it reminds us of ourselves. If you think about it, of course, we're bifurcated. We have a left and right side. And so many things that we love on this earth are also bifurcated like that. Like a cat, like a fish, like a dog. These are all symmetrical things that we tend to like, things that are symmetrical, that have two sides, because we have two sides and we're incredibly self-centered. So I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, it's just what it is. But if you think about the entire earth, most of the earth is not symmetrical, all right? Trees are not symmetrical, grass is not symmetrical, clouds are not, mountains are not. The vast biomass of life on earth is not symmetrical at all. And so I think it's interesting as we walk around a city, especially like Vienna, that we build our buildings to remind us of us. And that we see something that's symmetrical like us, and we go, oh, that's like me. So this is a reason we like this stuff. My main point for this tip is that as you hear a rule of photography, I want you to always question this rule and try to understand the fundamental premises of what made this rule true. So a lot of times when you take a symmetrical shot, your desire is to get it perfectly symmetrical so that the left side of the photo exactly matches the right side of the photo. But that can be a bit banal, a bit boring. And the truth of it is that while humans like to see symmetry, we actually prefer a little bit of imperfect symmetry. So a good rule of thumb for imperfect symmetry is you want your shot to be 90% symmetrical and 10% have a few inconsistencies. Because people like that. They kind of like to see the inconsistencies. It makes them sort of happy to see the differences between A and B. All right? So don't drive yourself crazy with perfect symmetry, because imperfect is better. Right now we're in the city where all the symmetry is quite inorganic, very strong lines up and down, where the symmetry is quite obvious. But as you guys know, you may know, I live in New Zealand, where there's not a lot of inorganic symmetry, but there's just a lot of landscapes. And I love landscape photography. And one of my great challenges when I'm out shooting landscape photography is how to make it symmetrical. So New Zealand is covered with like valleys and fjords, all right? And so what I'll often try to do is shoot down the middle of the valley or the middle of the fjord, and I want objects in the landscape to exit the frame at the same spot. What does that mean? Okay, imagine a rectangle, okay? You know, we take a lot of landscape photos in rectangles. And let's say there's a fjord. Well, I want the top of the mountain, say here's the corner, I want the top of the mountain to exit up here, off the top. And on the other side, I don't want that mountain to exit down here, below the corner. I want that to exit from the same spot. You should try to have equally weighted objects on both sides of the photo, and if possible, have them exit the frame at the same point.